everyone, Tony D with another hot take, and this one's a big one. Yeah, it's about Iran. Hot take on Iran. What the heck is going on? Now, first off, you might see a little Joan here. She's looking a little tired. We just got back from the vet, so she's a little sore. She had to get some booster shots. So Joan won't be participating in the debate, I don't think. Anyhow, there's really not much debate on it. The United States did some drone strikes. There was this thing at the embassy. We knocked out the #2 guy, and then this is at the Gateway Pundit, so take it with a grain of salt. Another takeout. This is U.S. drones takeout guy, leader of the Iranian-backed Shiite militia group north of Baghdad. This is another escalation, and they're cleaning house in Iraq. Trump is cleaning house in Iraq, and they're getting rid of any Iranian-connected guys in Iraq who could cause trouble. And you might say, wow, that sounds like we're going to start a war with Iran. Not necessarily so. Because look at this interesting article from the AP. Iran discovers new oil field with over 50 billion barrels. Isn't that interesting? Iran has discovered a new oil field, I'm reading from the article, in the country's south with over 50 billion barrels of crude. Now, this is according to them, so who knows if it's true. Its president said Sunday, a find that could boost the country's proven reserves by a third as it struggles to sell energy abroad. The announcement by Hassan Rouhani comes as Iran faces crushing American sanctions after the U.S. pulled out of its nuclear deal. I guess this was before all the recent things going on. Now you might say, oh, that's why we're going into Iran, the oil. No, it's not that simple. It's very complicated. My guess is this is a typical Trump maneuver. Trump, if he can make a deal with you, he'll make a deal. He does kind of whatever's easiest at first. Now, if he can't make a deal with guys like the Iranians, the first thing he does is he gets their attention in a big way. Now, sometimes that might be just posturing. See, with like North Korea, you really only had the postures. The North Koreans don't have anything. With the Iranians, they required probably a slap in the face, right? So he slaps the Iranians in the face, and then he's going to pull back and wait, see if they do anything, and when they don't, and they probably won't, then he'll start negotiating from a position of strength. Now, do I agree with this? No, I don't agree with this sort of strategy at all. I think there's a high risk, high reward, and this is the kind of strategy a guy like Trump, super alpha, will pursue. It's high risk, high reward. So, is there a chance of World War III? Oh, you betcha. There's a chance. There's always a chance when you do stuff like this. When people are getting killed and blown up, there's a chance the whole thing could spiral out of control. Now, is that chance very high? Not at this point. I don't see it escalating. I really don't. Will the Iranians try to do something? They might. Then Trump's going to hit them again. See, basically he's sending them a message, and the message is, oh, you can't do anything outside your own country. You are surrounded, and you can't do anything outside your own country without permission from me. Without permission from the United States, you're not going to do anything. At least anywhere outside of Iran, China, or Russia. They're the only two other countries that can protect you. For the United States, we run the ground game, and you are not going to F with us. That's the message he's sending them. Now, if the Iranians play ball, and I suggest they play ball sooner rather than later, they could cut a deal with Trump as soon as, obviously Trump would want it before the election, but I don't know if the Iranians are willing to give him that. They're certainly not willing to give him anything right this moment. No. He's got them bleeding. They're mad. But what are they going to do? What are you going to do? It's like A guy with a gun slaps you in the face and continues to point the gun at you. What are you going to do? You going to run at him? He'll shoot you. That's essentially what the United States has. We have a big gun. They have almost nothing. Now that doesn't mean the Iranians can't do a lot of damage on the way out. They absolutely can, and Trump knows that. In fact, Trump knows that it'll be a total quagmire if we go into Iran, which is why he's not planning on doing it. But I think his plan is to convince the Iranians he's willing to do it. He's trying to show them, hey, I will bomb the hell out of your country, and we will take it. At the very least, we'll bomb the hell out of your country, and then you're going to be rebuilding all that infrastructure you spent all that time building. The Iranians, for their part, they don't want that. They're not suicidal, contrary to what you may believe from the tropes about people in Iran or in Muslim countries. They're not suicidal. Look, everybody, if they get into a position of power, they're nice and comfortable, they have nice clothes, a good place to live, plenty of food, they're not struggling. People don't give that up easily, unless they have to give it up. So the choice is, do we confront America, shoot off all our missiles, and maybe get killed, or at best, get invaded, and then we're fighting a guerrilla war in the streets where I live in a hole in the ground like Saddam Hussein? Or do I suffer the wrath of my own people who I've been oppressing anyway and just, suck it up and cut a deal? This article, Iran discovers a new oil field with over 50 billion barrels, is interesting because they've got something to parlay with. I mean, think about this deal. If Trump got the deal he wanted from the Iranians, what would he want? Well, number one is he'd want them to disband their non-existent nuclear program, including all the peaceful stuff. Okay, so let's say they do that. They agree. It's better to get blown up. Second would be recognizing Israel, which is a big ask. But at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of words. The Iranians don't have to believe it, but they can just say, okay, we recognize, they don't have to like Israel. They could just say, okay, we recognize Israel, uncle, uncle, uncle. That's number two. But number three, and here's where it could get interesting. If they force the Iranians to take the same deal the Saudis have, and the Saudis have a deal with their oil, they will only accept American dollars for their oil. If we force the same deal on the Iranians, then put all the oil you want on the open market. What do we care? You got to take American dollars for them anyway. It's like we're getting paid when we don't even buy the oil. And if they put 50 billion barrels of crude on the open market, that's gonna shoot gas way down. Speaking of gas, you might want to gas up because depending on how long this drags out, gas prices are going to go up, 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 up. And if we get into an actual war with Iran, that's going to be pretty disastrous. You're looking at $10 a gallon for gas. But that's why I don't think it'll come to that. Trump knows that. It would be a terrible disaster. His economy would be a shambles. And so I think his strategy here is clear. He's going to hit the Iranians. He hits them in Iraq, where, basically he's acting within most of the parameters of the Iraqi deal. And what are the Iraqis going to do? They don't have anything without us. He's basically saying, get out of Iraq, cut a deal with me, or suffer the consequences. Will the Iranians cut a deal now? Probably not. They're probably going to need another couple of incidences like this before they finally cry uncle. But they have lost a big guy in their command. And it's, people say, oh, it's no big deal. A new guy will take his place. You don't know who that new guy is. That new guy could be a completely different mindset. His idea is like, hey, we cannot beat the Americans. That's just reality. So if you want to commit suicide, go ahead and keep antagonizing him. Otherwise, I think we should cut a deal. It might be that guy. It could be a guy who's 1,000 times worse, but who's a poor strategist. Could be a guy who's a brilliant strategist, but he only protects Iran, and he's not going to go off and do these other things in Iraq or Syria. He just refuses to do it because he knows the Americans will target him. So there's a lot of things at play here. Is it World War III? I think the odds are really low. It would have to spiral into drag in Russia and a bunch of other countries. You know, it's just not going to happen. Tehran does not want to commit suicide. So they're going to drag their feet. And at the end of the day, they're probably going to, you know, try some shenanigans on the side that aren't going to work. And then Trump will hit him in the nose again. And then maybe they'll finally go, well, we can't do anything here. We might as well cut a deal. Maybe. This could drag on forever until Trump leaves office in 2024. So, you know, you don't know. These guys could just say, hey, let's just tough it out until Trump leaves office, and then maybe the next guy we could deal with. They could just be trying to hang on until the American election, and this is just more pressure for Trump to get the deal before the election. Who knows? But it's interesting to see the left side of politics respond to this as if suddenly they've been anti-war all this time. You know, back in the Bush days, the bad old Bush days, you know, I was anti-war then, I'm anti-war now. We watched as the left side of politics united to protest the war, but it turned out they were really just protesting Bush. Because when Bush went out of office and Obama got elected, poof, everybody on the left disappeared from the war protests. They literally did. Because they threw up their hands and said, hey, we finally won. So, you know, it's fine. Oh, but what about Obama? He's drone bombing people. Oh, it's fine. It's Obama. I'm sure he has his reasons. Suddenly it was a different story. This is what you get when you give someone the power to use drones. Okay, you get Donald Trump saying, oh yeah, kill that guy. So if you had stopped Obama, then Trump wouldn't even have this power. He might not even be elected. Who knows? But you didn't, so you have no credibility here. You can make all the anti-war protest noises you want. Nobody really believes it anymore. You know, for those of us who have always been on the anti-war left, or the anti-war side, I should say, libertarians, some moderates, you know, you really should reevaluate your thought process in this. You can't just be, if you're going to be just anti-Trump, just be a partisan. Join the Democratic Party, work for them, do that. At least you'll be honest. If you're going to pretend like you're all self-righteous and anti-war, you should actually be anti-war, even when a Democrat gets into office. But as far as Trump goes, I think this is just a tactic. It could spiral out of control if things go wrong. There's always possibility it could all go wrong. But I think, you know, Trump is definitely sending a message to the Iranians. Play ball with me or things are just going to get worse. And he can make life for them worse. Whether or not the Iranians crack, it's another story. Who knows? You know, in your wildest conspiracy dreams, you can imagine a situation where through secret backdoor channels, the Iranians want to make a deal, but this general has been standing in the way the whole time. And they cut a deal with the Americans. Hey, take this guy out and we can finally cut a deal. And you could get something and we could get something. You know, we'll have to posture for a few weeks. But after that, we'll come to a consensus and we'll cut a deal with you. And we could sell our oil and you could buy it. And, you know, good things could happen. We could all make a lot of money. At the end of the day, it's all about money. You know, if these guys have 50 billion barrels worth of oil, you know, we want to be tapped into that. And maybe we're willing to make a deal, or maybe we're willing to bomb the country and just take it over. I don't know. I see Trump as more of a business guy. I see him as a guy who's going to pressure the Iranians until he forces them into a deal that the Iranians don't like, but they're going to have to live with for the time being. And a guy like Trump could potentially make that happen. He's been pushing the buttons for a while, but it could also be true that the Iranians are just going to tough it out until the election to see if Trump gets reelected. So anyhow, that's my take on the Iran thing and Little Joan. Um, I hope there is not going to be a war. I'm very much against going into Iran. I'm very much against this sort of behavior. I think we should follow the Constitution and declare war. I think we should get out of the Middle East and leave the Iranians alone, leave them to their fate, leave the Saudis to their fate, and everybody else in the region to their fate. Let them sort things out. And we don't have to like pull out tomorrow, but we could do an orderly withdrawal and just tell everybody and say, hey, you guys take care of this now. And I think you would, see still problems, but eventually things would sort of shake out and you'd probably get some kind of reasonable peace in the region. Anyhow, good luck to all of us.